Rail Agent here again, and we're going to do another railing video because most of you are doing it wrong. Alright, first thing as a railer, you're going to want to shoot off the weapons of the enemy bots. If you're not going to use the precision of your rail guns to do what they're supposed to do, then you really don't need to be using them. If you're sticking a couple rail erasers on your bot and you think you're going to increase your DPS by using those, that's not how these guns work. They don't have that great of a DPS. However, what they do offer is precision. They can cap towers as I'm doing now. They don't do it very well at low overclock levels, but they can do it. They get really effective at it later in the match towards the end game, but they're not, it shouldn't be your priority early on. If you're playing rails, you're playing to support your team and you're not playing for score in the first place. You can get a good score if you follow these tips and tricks, but if you don't, I wouldn't expect a great score. Anybody can slap some rails on their bot and shoot into a massive armor cubes. You're going to be more effective doing that with pretty much every other weapon in the game. Plasma is really good at shooting at massive armor blocks. Lasers, shotguns, chain shredders, everything is better at shooting armor than rails are. Rails, you want to be targeting their movement parts, their weapons, anything functional, even thrusters, even E-plates. They're not the most effective things to shoot, but once you take them off, a lot of bots are very reliant on those, and they're very squishy inside once you get through that shell. So if that's all you got to shoot at, by all means shoot at them. They offer a lot of CPU damage too, which means the enemy is that much closer to death. So what we're going to do now is we're going to help defend this tower. I've pushed up a little further than most rails. You see, most railers are going to hang out back at base, but I'm going to shoot this guy's lasers off. First of all, he switched to PSK, and that's fine, but I really want to get rid of those lasers. I'm not worried about PSK. Lasers are one of your biggest enemies, especially on a hover. A laser hover, fast-moving laser hover, is going to be the bane of your existence. If they get close to you, they're going to ruin you. So we're going to defend this tower. We moved back. We're going to defend this tower by shooting the weapons off of these enemy bots. We're not actually going to try to kill them. You want to disarm them. That way they can't even take the tower. It's completely impossible. And yes, it's impossible if they're dead, but you can disarm 2 or 3 bots quicker than you can usually kill one reasonably well-built bot. So that's what I'm doing here, is I'm aiming for movement parts and weapons, mostly weapons, absolutely weapons when you're trying to defend a tower as a rail. Movement parts too, if that's all you got shots on. I don't waste time. I try to always be shooting at something, unless I have to compromise my position to do so. So I will take shots on movement parts trying to defend a tower if that's all I have to shoot at. But first and foremost, you really need to disarm their weapons. You will be very surprised at how effective a competent railgunner can be at defending towers from a distance, because you don't have to kill the bots. You can defend a tower from 2 or 3 guys if you can put those shots on target and take their weapons off. They can't take the tower. Usually by then too, you've got allies that are showing up if you've got a competent team, and they will help finish the job. As a railer, you're not looking for kills. You're looking to support your team by disarming the enemy and making it really easy for your team to move in and kill them. Get them off the battlefield for a while. So I like to aim for shotguns, all the large weapons first. Shotguns, flak cannons, lock-on missile launchers like we're doing here. Anything large is your first priority targets, because they are damaging weapons. When used in their element and used correctly, all these large weapons can be extremely devastating to your team. So as a railer supporting your team, you want to get rid of those weapons first. Like I said, rails can take towers. The way the penetration model works is it fires. You'll see one shot fire on your screen, but it's actually firing 3 rapid fire successive shots to get that penetration effect. So if you get up underneath the tower and look up it, you can actually penetrate the crystals and shoot straight through. I don't recommend doing it. First and foremost, your job is to be disarming enemies and removing their movement so they're immobile, they can't get away from your allies. But when the opportunity arises, I will also shoot crystals, because I don't like to waste time as a railer. I like to have something to shoot at all times. And it's not going to happen. You're not going to constantly be firing throughout the entire match just because of your positioning. Rail doesn't bop around the map much, especially as a tank. There are hybrid walkers that have blink and copter blades and stuff. They're really squishy. They can't take a lot of damage, so I prefer tanks, but those are more mobile, so you've got a trade-off. I myself prefer tanks because they can get closer to the enemy and fight a little bit better alongside your teammates than walkers can. Walkers are typically very far away from their teammates, and if they get into trouble, there's really nobody to help them around. So we don't have an angle on this guy that was that great. We've got 3 or 4 allies over there. There's no reason as a railer for you to drive over there, or for me in this case, to drive over there and jump into the fray and try to get that kill. Kills aren't even worth that much in Battle Arena. It is important to kill your enemies to get them off the battlefield, but they're not worth that many points, and that's not what you should be wasting your time doing. You should be shooting off weapon and movement parts like I did with this copter. The Slamo copter here, lock-on missile launcher copter, he's going to hang around their base a lot, so every time he's damaged, he can go back down into the shield and be safe and heal and not die. So we turned our attention to not SMGs anymore, they're lasers, a laser hover. We shot his weapons off, and while I did that, this guy's trying to lock on to me with his lock-on launcher. Now, a lot of people like to start to evade right away, but I know I've got this crest, this little hill here, and I like to let them actually waste their energy bar firing a full salvo of missiles at me before I either blink away or back into cover. That way, they've wasted that energy. They accomplish nothing at all, and they don't have energy to attack any of your teammates with or any follow-up attacks on you. They have to wait to recharge, and they can fire 1 missile at a time every so often, but once that energy bar is depleted, they really have to wait for it to recharge to be truly effective. So we shot his missile launcher off again. Like I said, as a tank, I can tank hits like that, and it's not really going to hurt me. It may get a rail now and then, but the way this bot is built is that I can have a lot of front-end damage and top damage and still retain all 6 of my rails. I've got some good screenshots of it. I'm not going to put them in this video. We're just going to do a full match here. We may or may not get to see it later, but building does matter too. You don't want to just stick a bunch of rails on stuff that can easily be shot off by enemies, because that's what you should be doing to them. You shouldn't have it happen to you. You should be able to take a little bit of damage and keep most, if not all, of your rails. And on that topic, while we shoot off this guy's missile launchers and his rotor blades again, I like rail decimators better than erasers. Erasers, they pack a punch, they do a lot of damage, but the thing is that they take up so much energy that they're not all that effective. If you're going for DPS, rails aren't the way to go in the first place. They do pack a punch, but you're going to do a lot more DPS with pretty much every other weapon in the game except maybe PSK. So I like to go with the rail decimators. They do require 6, but 6 can fit within reason on a well-equipped bot. I've got a power module and a blink module in this bot, and I've got plenty of CPU left for lots of armor and all 6 of my rails. I've got radar jammer on there, and I've got a radar on, so it's a good combination. The reason I like the decimators is because first you can fire a lot more shots, which means you can take a lot more weapons off of bots. See, I don't go to kill them, and I don't promote that people use rails to kill. Pretty much every other weapon in the game is good at that. So I'm using the precision of the weapon. I want to have as many shots as possible to shoot off as many guns as possible. And with this setup, I can get 9 shots off in quick succession, which means I could possibly remove 9 guns from an enemy bot. And that's pretty much stripping most bots out there clean of all of their weapons if you've got 9 shots. And I can fire a 10th shot fairly quickly after that. It also helps you when you get into battles with other railgunners. If you've got more guns than them and you can put those shots on target, or at least more than 5, then you're probably going to win the battle. Most railers don't have 6, 8, 9 guns. They've got the bare minimum, and a lot of them like to use erasers, so they've only got 5, and then they might have some plasma cannons or something in case they get into a close-up fight. I prefer to go all rail and a blink to get away from the close-up fight. That way, I can do my very best at my one task of disarming and disabling the enemy builds instead of fighting close up and turning my attention away from something that I know I can do well and help my team out with. So we've taken a lot of damage. We're going to back the heck out of there. We're going to blink out, and we're going to defend ourselves while we retreat, which is probably what saves me right here, because I'm down to about a third of my tank. I'm at 42% CPU, so it's a little more than a third, but not a whole lot. Definitely less than half of my tank left. But we did make it into the shield, and that's what the blink is for. In fact, if you're going to play a tank at all, it doesn't matter if you're using lasers or plasma or what, you really need to mount a blink in there. It's going to save your butt. Right now, if you're not playing hover or mech leg, anything else on the ground is at a pretty big disadvantage. So you want to use that blink. You want to have that blink. It's a great investment. I suggest having one in any ground build that's not mech, or even mech legs. Put a blink in there. I use them on all my hovers. I don't play mechs, but I use them on my hovers. So the shotgun guy got really close again. He put a few blasts into me, really tore me up. I'm going to try to save my ally, but between his circling and movement, I just can't get the shots on target and take that shotgun off to save my ally. As a railer, you can do a really good job of saving your teammates from death by shooting the weapons off of the enemies, and it makes a really big difference in a match to be able to save your teammates like that. Sometimes it's more effective than having a dedicated medic on your team, because if they can't deal damage, they can't kill your allies. They can't wear down your energy bar as you're trying to heal. They can't do anything if they don't have any weapons. All they can do is run. So their shield's down. I'm not a railer who hides back in their base near the shield. As you can see for most of the match, I am about midway through the map because I want to support my team, and that's the whole purpose of me using the rail tank instead of insect leg walker, is to be able to get up in there and push forward when the team pushes forward. So here's shotgun hover again. These things are incredibly devastating. He's blown off about half of my bot again. I'm going to try to save my ally. I got no shots left. Luckily his shotgun came off and he's going to blink out of there, and you see how useful that is. I'm stuck against the wall just derping there as I heal, but you see how useful that blink module was. It's one of the best investments you can make as far as modules go. So we're going to push forward again. They've got no shield. We're going to push forward, and we're going to continue shooting the guns off of the enemy bots. Right now that guy's concerned with me. Again, lock-on launchers, nice big square targets, easy to hit, especially when they want to just hover in place like that. You'll find more difficult ones with the copters using camera controls, because they'll strafe sideways really fast and they can be difficult to hit, especially when they're not moving laterally to your position. They're moving like in an angle backwards or forwards, because rails are projectiles and you do have to predict the movement a little bit. Some people make it look easy. I don't know if I do or not, but it's not as easy as it looks to hit these weapons and movement parts as much as you should be hitting them as a railer. Now, I don't know what the deal is here, but most of my shots are clipping through the crystals. They're not actually hitting them. I know we've about got this match in the bag, so I'm going to move in and I'm going to finish this reactor off. I like to do that a lot as a rail, is to charge in there and finish the job. And there we go, we've won the match. Let's see what our score was. So I did a lot of damage. Damage was number 2, score was number 2. So we did a pretty good job. We helped our team out, we won the match, we got number 2. Hope you enjoyed it.